All right, everyone. Nancy Pelosi ranting self-righteously and making dumb allusions to like indicting Trump is fairly common. It happens all the time. She's coming out and sort of doubling down on that, and you know that part of it is because of pressure from the government shutdown. Right? The Democrats right now don't want to talk about the fact that they've kept the government shut down for a week now because they can't stand the thought, they can't stand the concept that Trump would garner a small amount of money for some mild improvements to the U.S. border. It's like, we want to spend $100 billion bombing children over in Pakistan or Yemen? That's fine. You want to give money to other countries that aren't cooperating with us at all and basically squander that money on socialism bullshit? Trying to prop them up instead of, trying to encourage them to pick themselves up by their bootstraps for once by having a free market. That's fine too. We'll give tens of billions a year to some of these states. Oh, you want to protect the U.S. border? Oh my God, it's a terrible thing. We need to do something about this. She's coming out and she's doing that thing that the neoliberals have been doing now for several years, haven't they? To the far left, specifically. You dog whistle to the far left and say, yeah, maybe he'll get indicted. Yeah, maybe we gotta wait for Mueller, but, don't worry, here, we're gonna throw you a crumb of mentioning the possibility that Trump will magically disappear and stop being a problem for our schismatic fucking political party. In the end, though, are the neoliberals that control the Democratic Party actually gonna do jack shit? No. Now, here's what I think. Here's what I'm increasingly thinking. Even though the Mueller probe is stalled out, it's fundamentally over. They haven't indicted Trump. They're not going to indict Trump. They're going to make do with Manafort and some of these others. I think that Mueller is under intense pressure from the left, from the Democrats, especially those that sort of have their hands in the intel community. I think he's under a great deal of pressure to not come out with a final decision until after the 2020 election. I'll tell you why. Let's say that Mueller comes out right now. And this doesn't mean it's a guarantee that happens, it's just he's under pressure to it. I think that they'd be pressuring him to do that. He comes out and says, well, no, Trump didn't break any laws. We got Manafort, money laundering, and we got Papadopoulos. He lied. He got 2 fucking weeks in the county jail, basically. Some of this other stuff, Flynn is like, that's a dead issue that they don't ever want to discuss. They're not going to be able to get Trump. What does this do? The neoliberals have spent 2 years rambling to the far left about how they're going to try to impeach Donald Trump and how he's Adolf Hitler. The far left is going to look at this and say, well, impeach him anyway. You got to get rid of him. We know that he's guilty. No, we don't accept the Mueller probe findings or something like that. And they'll come out and rant. And when the DNC, when it proves that the neoliberals don't have the balls to actually give them what they want, all hell will break loose. You got 15-20% of your political party breaking off of the rest of the party. You will have mavericks, you'll have chaos within. You'll have some people who will say, shame on my own party. This is not what the Democrats are meant to be. We could stand up for, what's good or virtuous, which is bullshit, but that's what they'll say. You'll get an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Bernie Sanders red in the face, ranting in front of Congress and grandstanding. And that will make the neoliberals shame-faced, and they won't be able to, what are they going to do? How are they going to respond? They got millions of people within their own party that are pissed off at them. Meanwhile, it will just embolden the further right. They'll say, oh, look, it was a witch hunt all along. And then Trump wins because the Democrats can no longer launch any form of campaign because they'll be too schismatic. The best situation you'd have is you'd have some fucking Rust Belt business Democrat would come along and say, well, I wasn't even in office at the time. I've been retired for 20 years. Run me because at least I don't have baggage. And it would be funny. It would be hilarious. I think that's what the pressure that he's facing. The other pressure, of course, would be to indict him, but there's nothing you can indict him for. What the fuck's going to happen? Watching all of these proceedings for now 2 fucking years of nonstop investigation has been hilarious to me. Because there are so many people early on, when the Mueller probe just barely began, they're like, aha, we're going to get him. See, we knew there was Russian election interference. What election interference? You've got Nate Silver, of all people. #1 Hillary Clinton fan in the last election, skewed his own polls and made himself look like an idiot just to take care of the fact that he didn't sleep well at night, looking at maybe the internal polls that he didn't show you. He's kind of saying, yeah, Russian election interference. Russia probably played a very, very slim to none role as far as the election went. No, it didn't swing the election. But there are people out there who think so. And you've gotten to the point where there are a lot of liberals who are sitting there applauding like Mitt Romney and Jeff Flake in the fucking Bush family, and they sound so much like fucking neocons. It's like, for years I was telling people, like the neocons in the Republican Party and like these fucking so-called liberals, the corporate liberals, and basically the same thing, and people would scoff at it. They're like, no, they're totally different. Like, look at this wedge issue that they drum up to differentiate themselves. Gay marriage, abortion, the tax rate being 38% versus 40% for some bracket or something. And they would talk about them. It's like, no, 99% of the issues are basically the same thing on. Aren't we seeing that now? Isn't it a little bit like the curtain's been pulled back and there's the blank wall at the back of the theater? The bread and circus is starting to break down. The little toys that are used to distract us are starting to grind to a halt here, and we're beginning to see how bad things really have been. Now, there's always hope for reform. When you have it in the form of Trump. The progressives want to reform things, although I call it regressivism, because they basically want to take us back to a very dark, fascistic period in world history. But you do have, you have libertarians and stuff. You do have different groups that have different ideas, but what's the uniting feature of all these groups? The neoliberal, neocon core of the political structure hates them and does everything they can to use their multi-billion-dollar media buddies and entertainment industry and all these others to suppress them. You think that they like progressives, you're out to sea with no paddle. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to pay twice as much in taxes? They get rid of the tax loopholes. They'd actually have to pay some taxes. It'd be terrible for them. They wouldn't be able to afford 13 mansions. They'd have to make do with 11 of them. It'd be terrible. It'd be like being impoverished to them. George Soros or Mark Zuckerberg, people like that. And plenty of people on the other side, so Republicans, the rhinos, the Jeff Flakes of the party. It's very funny to see Pelosi continue to rant. She's dog whistling to the party loyal, to the further left. When it turns out that the Democratic Party is not capable of giving these people what they want, all hell is going to break loose. Mueller, I feel sorry for Mueller at this point. I'm sure that he has people breathing down his neck constantly. Probably Pelosi's one of them saying, don't fuck this up. If you can't indict him, you wait till after 2020. Keep it hanging over his head, please. There's a possibility that happens. I expect it to end before that. I don't think that he'll listen to them. I think at some point he's going to throw up his hand and say, well, either I save face or my Democratic buddies do. I'm just going to save myself. Mueller should save himself in that situation. He doesn't need to take one for the team trying to defend the Democratic Party. And it's very obvious. He's fairly obviously a neoliberal partisan as well. But there's going to come a point. There's a limit to how much I think he'll be willing to deal with. I don't expect Trump to be indicted. I don't expect him to be impeached. And come to think of it, remember, he could get impeached but end up not getting kicked out of office, go full Bill Clinton mode, end up with higher approval afterwards. Because it'll look like the neoliberals have wasted time. They're not going to gain any friends on the far left unless he's removed from office. They're going to give easy talking points to even the rhino-con Republicans. Even they'll dogpile them to score cheap political points. It'd be funny. It'd be a hilarious time. It'd be exactly like post-Monica Lewinsky with Bill Clinton. That's about all. Peace out.